And welcome TBU fans, I am your host, King L5, and today I am bringing you, week 3, even though this is my first week in the league, week 3 of my match versus King Bub. So, so if you don't know, I just joined the TBU. Kelly, or UnderTheRadar, had to drop out for personal reasons, and I was lucky enough to be selected as the replacement. And while I'm not Kelly, well, I guess you can guess that, I will do my best to make playoffs and all that. And yeah, so this is going to be my team builder section of week 3. If you want to skip to the battle, I'll have annotations right now, and you can just skip to that. But let's get into my team. So first off, I wanted to find a win condition. What's something that completely destroys his team? And I found Salamence, because his main checks to Salamence are Donphan with the Ice Shard or Scarf Thunderous Therian with the HP Ice. And there's not really much else that he can do to revenge a Salamence. I guess Scarf Latios as well, but that's not too likely when I have a Finny and a Heatran. He kind of wants the Life Orb. I was expecting almost guaranteed Life Orb Earthquake Latios just for my Heatran, because Heatran is a pretty nice defensive Pokemon versus him, and he definitely wants to snipe that on the switch in if he can, or just lure it somehow. But yeah, Salamence looking like a nice win condition. And yeah, so level 50, kind of messed up all of my stuff. I built at level 100, and then right before I was about to gen in my team, well, ask Jade to gen in my team, I noticed, hey, it's level 50. So yeah, I had to reconvert all of these spreads, but yeah. So this EV spread, Salamence, I wanted it to be bulky, so I can take the HP Ice or the Ice Shard more nicely, I guess. Because I am Moxie and not Intimidate, I do want to have some bulk so I can set up without dying to any hit. I have 12 speed, which that's a little bit of a mistake. It's supposed to be enough to outspeed Mega Absol at +1, but at +1 I speed tie with it. Now I don't think that's too big of an issue, because my only thing that speed ties with Mega Absol is my Azelf, and he'd be using Sucker Punch against that anyways, most likely, so I don't see a reason why he wouldn't just speed creep Gengar at base 110, but if he did, it was a speed tie at +1, so that's kind of an oversight on my part. I should have just taken out a little bit here and then put it in speed. But anyways, Yache Berry with the Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and Aqua Tail for the Donphan. This coverage just completely destroys his team. He has nothing that can take a +2 hit from this thing. So that's really nice. I really want to set up to +2 if possible. +1 will work if I eliminate his Scarfer, or if he doesn't bring Donphan and only has Scarf Thundy, I can take a hit from that using my Yache Berry and just continue to sweep through his team, and Moxie will get me the +2 that I need to OHKO his entire team after Dragon Dance. So that's looking my win con, and so what I wanted to do is kind of remove his checks and counters. One thing that he could run to counter Salamence is a Shuca Berry Magearna, Shuca Berry Toxapex, although that's almost guaranteed to be Shed Shell this week because I do have a Gothitelle, and I guess Donphan, but I have Aqua Tail for that. Generally, Magearna with a Shuca Berry would be a roadblock to the Salamence, so yeah, I needed something to take on Magearna, and that's going to be my Heatran. I'm going a little bit out of order on this right now, but it's all good. So Heatran is a pretty nice defensive and offensive presence versus his team. I did go for the Leftovers because I did want the longevity of the Leftovers recovery, Flash Fire because that's the only option, and a Magma Storm, it just completely destroys Magearna. I have enough speed to outpace a max speed timid Magearna, assuming he wanted to go for a Shift Gear set. I can outspeed that. I think Shift Gear is definitely one of the better sets versus my team, so I did want to be prepared for that. If I brought a bulky Heatran, he could just knock me out with a Z fighting move, or HP ground, whichever one he wants. And so I definitely wanted to outspeed that and have enough special attack to hit it really hard. The defense investment allows me to take a +2 Stone Edge from the Lycanroc midday form, because I was looking at my team and I really don't have the best of answers. I have Mienshao, and I guess I have Heatran as a kind of bulky Pokemon that can take a hit, but if that thing gets up a Swords Dance, it needs to click Stone Edge versus Heatran and Finny, and what I mean is he has to go for a potential Continental Crush. I did not want to lose to a potential Z-move Lycanroc, so that's what this defense investment is for. It's so that he either uses it on Heatran or Finny, and the other one can kind of deal with it. So yeah, that was like one of the biggest threats in my team building that I wanted to mitigate with this 68 defense investment. So moving back a little bit to this. So Gothitelle has a really nice matchup this game. So I went for the Colbur Berry so I can take a hit from Mega Absol. I went near max special attack so I can do about 70-80% back to it with a Signal Beam. And then I have Psychic to hit the Toxapex. I have the Shadow Ball to hit Latios. I also have Mirror Coat with enough special defense where after rocks I can always take a Life Orb Draco Meteor and then retaliate with a Mirror Coat and get rid of Latios, which is honestly one of the biggest offensive threats to my team, along with Magearna and Thundurus. Mega Absol not so much, because I do have a Tapu Fini which can hard wall that thing as long as I don't let it get too weakened. But yeah, so Gothitelle, it does a really good job at just eliminating a lot of counters to Salamence and Heatran. So I thought that it was a really good set to bring this week, and while the Toxapex is probably going to be Shed Shell, I can predict him to switch out, and yeah, that's going to be pretty spicy. But yeah, a little bit of speed so I can creep his Magearna if he is min speed, always outspeed that. And yeah, nice nickname, Telltale, very nice. I really like these nicknames, by the way, haven't mentioned that yet, but they're pretty good. Yeah, not really much else to say about Gothitelle. I'm going to move on to my Tapu Fini, which also has a pretty nice matchup this week, countering the Mega Absol. The Latios can switch in, and the Magearna can take a hit and Nature's Madness it down. So yeah, pretty nice set. I have the Defog, so my Mence doesn't have to take rocks when it switches in. Nature's Madness has nice chip damage on literally everything. Taunt is nice for the Toxapex, so he can't set up the Toxic Spikes, and the best he can do is Sludge Bomb me, and then I can go into Heatran and just Earth Power it away. I think I forgot to go into my Heatran set. I have Magma Storm, Earth Power, Stealth Rock, Flash Cannon. This is going to be my Stealth Rocker of the week, and Flash Cannon, Magma Storm, and Earth Power just hit his team incredibly hard. But yeah, back to Finny. Sorry about that. I have enough special defense where I am not 2-hit KO'd by any hit by Magearna if it's not Life Orb. I can take a Gigavolt Havoc from full, and I have enough speed to outspeed something. I think it was the, what was it? What am I outspeeding with this? I don't remember. The speed is there for something, though. I'm pretty sure about that. Oh, it was for max speed Donphan, because max speed Donphan with Gunk Shot could definitely snipe my Finny, and I want to avoid that if I can. And yeah, so then I just dump the rest in defense after max HP because I want to take on the Mega Absol as well as possible. And yeah, really nice Pokemon versus team. The only thing stopping this really is Toxapex and Thundurus, and those two are, you know, yeah, the only thing stopping Finny. And yeah, so moving on, he doesn't have the greatest answers to Gengar, especially a Choice Specs variant. I decided to go with max speed on this thing to speed tie with the Latios potentially, and apart from Miltank, Spec Shadow Ball just completely destroys every Pokemon in his team. I believe after Stealth Rocks it has a chance to 2-hit KO Toxapex, and it 2-hit KOs Magearna, OHKOs Latios, OHKOs Donphan after some chip with like Stealth Rocks for example. I'm pretty sure it OHKOs unless he's Assault Vest. Thundurus I do heavy damage with the Sludge Wave, and he can't kill me back, I don't think, unless he's Specs, which in case I'll outspeed him. Miltank gets completely destroyed by Focus Blast. Mega Absol is kind of a roadblock to this thing. It can't switch in, but it can definitely Pursuit Trap me, and I was kind of afraid of that going into this game. I didn't want to bring in Gengar until the Mega Absol was gone, so he can't Pursuit Trap me after I get my kill. But yeah, Lycanroc midday just drops this thing, and Virizion just drops. So Gengar, a really nice offensive threat, and yeah, just really nice, really strong Pokemon. Yeah. So moving on, in my last slot is Mienshao. Now this was not actually the Pokemon that I wanted first off. Initially I really wanted to bring my Sneasel, but while I was prepping I was making my Sneasel set and it was pretty spicy, not gonna lie. And unfortunately, when I was about to gen the team, it was pointed out to me that Sneasel was actually on the bench on my team. Now I was just looking at the doc, and apparently you have to go to the specific team page for the updated bench. I thought it was not on bench, so that was kind of unfortunate, but Mienshao is a pretty nice replacement for that thing. I decided to go for Choice Scarf Reckless because High Jump Kick does a lot of damage to his team, especially if I can trap the Toxapex with my Gothitelle. So that's going to be a really nice option versus his team. High Jump Kick, I think, almost 2-hit KOs Latios, or it does 2-hit KO Latios, something like that, maybe after Rocks. 2-hit KOs Donphan, really 2-hit KOs his entire team, aside from Toxapex. So, I do have High Jump Kick, U-Turn, Knockoff, and Stone Edge. Stone Edge does like 98% minimum to Thundurus, so if I can get that thing out of the way, that is going to be very huge for my team, as I don't have the best of electric immunities because Gligar just gets completely destroyed by HP Ice, and so does Rotom. So I didn't really have the best answers to Thundurus T, and so Scarf Mienshao is a nice revenge killer to that. And then I have Knockoff to Oko Latios, U-Turn for Momentum, pretty standard set. I have enough speed to creep his Scarf Thundurus if it was max speed, and that's pretty much it for my team. So let's get right into the game, which I have right here. If you look at the Pokemon that he brought, he did indeed bring the Thundurus, the Magearna, the Latios, Mega Absol, Toxapex, and the Miltank. So looking at his team, I'm thinking that either Latios or the Thundurus is going to be Scarf, probably the Thundurus. Magearna, I did expect this to be a Trick Room, not Trick Room, a Shift Gear set. And so I do have to keep my Heatran healthy for that thing. Mega Absol, I'm thinking this definitely has Ice Beam to hit my Ments, which is where my Yache Berry is going to be quite helpful, because if I can take the Ice Beam with my Yache Berry, he can't kill me with Sucker Punch due to my defense investment, and so I can start a sweep late game if I want to set up on Mega Absol. So then he has the Toxapex, which is going to be Shed Shell almost guaranteed, and Miltank, Toxapex and Miltank forming the kind of defensive core in the back along with his 4 offensive threats. So let's get right into the game. I'm going to lead off, well, let me start this. Right, I'm going to get challenged by this dude. By the way, this is going to be my first Wi-Fi league I've ever done, so that's kind of interesting. I'm going to lead off with my Mienshao, because I did expect a Thundurus lead, and I did want to just snipe that thing turn 1 with the Stone Edge if possible. So I am just going to go straight for the Stone Edge. If he stays in, I just get rid of this thing, and I'm at a huge advantage. But he does make the nice play, go into his Toxapex. I did think about clicking Knockoff on this turn to get rid of the Shed Shell or the Scarf on Thundurus, but I decided not to do that, as just getting rid of Thundurus turn 1 would have been amazing, and I don't really lose too much by him switching out. Now he does go for the Scald on my Gothitelle switch in, and here I know he Shed Shell, so I'm just going to go for the Signal Beam, because the obvious switch is Absol on the Psychic move. But unfortunately he goes into his Thundurus, kind of scouting for my aggressive play there. Very good play by him. And now I do have the Mirror Coat on this thing. I'm just going to pause real quick. Now, if he goes for any move other than Volt Switch, he loses his Thundurus, and that's, I mean, again, great for me. So I do kind of want to get rid of this Thunderous if I am given the chance. So I'm going to go straight for the Mirror Coat on his electric move, most likely, as he goes for the Volt Switch. So I'm like, oh man. And so now I'm hoping he doesn't go Absol, because I did show the Signal Beam, and he did see that I made the aggressive play to predict the switch, so I don't know if he would expect me to do that again. But I did go for the Mirror Coat, as he does get me again and goes into the Absol, and I'm like, drats. This man's playing me like a book. But it's all good. I do have the Tapu Fini in the back for this Absol. Losing my leftovers from the knockoff isn't going to be the best thing in the world, but it's my best switch-in, so I kind of am forced to go into it. Get the Misty Terrain up, and it's going to be a pretty easy switch-in for this. I believe I'm just going to go for the Nature's Madness the following turn, because there's no way he's staying in. I did want to get really nice chip damage on anything that he wanted to switch in. Just wait for this turn to play out and get a little ahead of myself. But yeah, that does a lot of damage, considering I am a lot of defensive investment on this Fini. But yeah, I'm just going to go straight for the Nature's Madness, I believe, as he brings in his Toxapex. And I'm just able to bring that thing down to half. And now, what do? I don't actually remember what switch I made, or did I make a switch? Yes, I did switch out. What did I go into? Alright, into my Heatran. This is predicting the Poison move, but he does go for the Scald on my Fini, which wouldn't have done anything, but I guess he predicted the Heatran switch-in. Now I threaten this thing with an Earth Power, because it is... if I were max special attack, this would be a roll to kill him, I believe. So he is kind of forced to switch out and to his Latios. I just go for the Magma Storm here, just to get residual damage on anything he wants to switch in, as leaving in his Toxapex is not the best idea when I have a Scarf Mienshao in the back, just threatening his entire team. So I do trap in the Latios, so I can make a pretty nice switch out. Obviously I don't want to stay in on the potential Earthquake, which I am expecting him to have. Now, I'm going to pause real quick, because there's a few plays I can make. I can go into Tapu Fini as an Earthquake switch-in. I can stay in, predicting him not to have Earthquake for some reason, or I can do the play that I decided to make here. And that is going to be switch out right into my Mienshao. Now, because there's no way he's going for a Psyshock, he's going for either the Thunderbolt to protect my Fini switch-in or the Earthquake to protect my Heatran staying in, both of which Mienshao lives. And yeah, I can threaten this thing out, go for the U-turn and gain momentum. But I believe I go for the knockoff here, because the Toxapex is so obvious. I do want to get rid of the Shed Shell on this thing, so I can trap it with Gothitelle later. So that's going to be really good for me. And here, I believe I just go to Gothitelle, because if he wants to double, then that kind of sucks. No, I go into Fini for some reason. I should have gone to... oh wait, no, I remember why I made this play. This covered the Toxapex staying in, because Scald does nothing to my Fini, and the double to Mega Absol, because Absol was a nice double if he predicted me to go into Gothitelle. But he goes into his Miltank, and he reveals here he's Curse, and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty spicy set. I'm going to go for the Nature's Madness here, I believe, just to chip this thing down, but I do miss, which is very unfortunate. Here I'm going to go for the Taunt, because I outspeed this now after the speed drop, and I don't want him setting up any more curses, because that would be quite scary. And I'm just going to go for the Nature's Madness, because at half he is in range of the Flash Cannon from my Heatran, so I always have something to revenge him if I keep him low. So that's good. He does Body Slam me, and my Fini is looking pretty weak now. I do want to preserve this thing if I can. I'm just going to go for the Moonblast though, because Miltank is a pretty big threat, as he switches out into Latios, predicting some switch on my part, but it's not going to work out for him, and I'm able to take out the Latios. So that's pretty good for me. Latios was a pretty big offensive threat with my Fini weakened, and if he had Earthquake, Heatran was not a switch-in. So now he can go into Thunderous and basically claim a kill, because I don't have anything that can switch in to an electric type move. I decided to sack off my Mienshao because I thought it was the least valuable member on my team. However, this was a bit of a misplay, and I'll go into that a little bit later on. Mienshao was kind of important in hindsight. It was the only thing that can outspeed his Scarf Thunderous, and I'm pretty sure he's Scarf at this point, judging by how he's played it. But I did want to preserve my Gothitelle to trap the Toxapex, because I thought I would have some use of it there. But in reality, I really should have just sacked my Gothitelle, because for Toxapex I have the Heatran, I have the Tapu Fini to chip away at it with Nature's Madness, he doesn't have Leftovers or Black Sludge, and generally Mienshao was a lot more important than I thought. So, but yeah, I sacked Mienshao, it happened. Now he goes into his Miltank, I'm going to go into my Gengar, click Focus Blast, as it does kill the Miltank, and he switches out into his Toxapex. And I did go for Focus Blast. I do reveal here that I am Specs by the damage that I'm doing, which is going to be a lot, judging that this is a Toxapex. Now here I'm going to go straight out into my Gothitelle, because this is the only use I have for Gothitelle at this point, is to try to trap this Toxapex. But unfortunately he makes the good play and doubles out into, I believe, his Thunderous again. No, that's his Magearna. And I'm like, okay, I can just get some chip damage on Shadow Ball because nothing really wants to switch into this thing. And yeah, I get the special defense drop, which is nice, but he goes for the Trick Room, which is not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting Shift Gear at worst, but he does have the Trick Room, which is incredibly scary to my team. He can set up a Calm Mind, and if he is Dazzling Gleam and HP Ground, he has coverage to hit my entire team at +1 and kill everything. So that's a huge threat to my team. I go into my Heatran on the Calm Mind because he wouldn't click HP Ground there even if he did have it. I was expecting 3 moves coverage, but he does reveal the Calm Mind, and I'm like, aw man, this is gonna suck. So now I'm basically forced to just stall out the Trick Room, and yeah, so if he has HP Ground, he's definitely going for it here. So I am going to scout for that, switch out my Heatran into, I believe, my Fini, yes, because I can take the HP Ground and I can stall out another turn of Trick Room. Now here, he is going to go for the HP Ground, and what I could do is play around between Fini and Heatran and just try to catch him on the Dazzling Gleam HP Ground each time, but that's a very dangerous game because if he HP Grounds on my switch, I instantly lose to Magearna because I have nothing to revenge it after my Heatran goes down. So that's very unfortunate. He does get a kill there, getting the +2, but he is at neutral special defense, so a Magma Storm will be able to at least knock him down to the point where I can revenge him with anything else. But yeah, I go into my Gengar basically as sack fodder because I need to stall out another turn of Trick Room, and my other Pokemon are a little bit more important at this point. He does knock me out with the HP Ground, and I'm like, alright, the Trick Room should end here, as I believe it does here. He gets the +3, but again, he's at neutral special defense, and I can bring in my Heatran, go for the Magma Storm, and basically get a kill here. Heatran, he doesn't have a switch in anymore, so it's one of my biggest offensive threats, and he is going to go into his Toxapex. I'm able to trap that thing in, and just, yeah, I'm going to choose to Magma Storm, obviously, as you can tell by the animation. Really cool animation on Magma Storm, one of my favorites in the game. But yeah, here, he's trapped in, so I can get up basically free rocks. Now rocks, what they do is they chip away at the Absol, putting him in range of my +1 Dragon Claw, I believe. I think it might be already in range at full, but Stealth Rocks are completely free in this scenario. And I think he goes for the Sludge Bomb, predicting my switch out, but I'm not going to end up doing that, so free rocks plus leftovers, I'll take it. And now I'm just going to go for Earth Power because it's going to do a lot of damage, and I do want this Toxapex gone. Alternatively, what I could have done is kind of just gone out into my Salamence here and tried to set up on the Toxapex, but then I risk a Scald Burn, and if I get burned, that's basically instant loss, so I did not want to risk that if I didn't have to. So I am just going to kill this thing with a combination of Earth Power plus Magma Storm damage. So yeah, he is going to die to the Magma Storm, and Heatran gets a kill there. And now he's going to bring in his, what is that, the Miltank. but after rocks, he is in range of my flash cannon, and I do outspeed because I'm running a lot of speed on this thing. So I do basically get a free kill there. So that's really nice. And yeah, so now he can see that I'm definitely fast Heatran, judging that I outsped his base 100 speed Miltank. Even though it's definitely uninvested because it was a curse set, I am running a lot of speed. Now he goes into his Absol. Now here, honestly, I could have stayed in, but I was really fearing the superpower, which would have killed me at this range, and I don't really have a use for Gothitelle at this point, so I'm just going to scout for the superpower, go right into my Goth, and just sack it off to the Absol. See if he does have the superpower. And he does decide to go for the knockoff, revealing that he doesn't really have the superpower, or he just decided to make a read. I don't know. But I'm just going to go off the fact that he's revealing that he doesn't have superpower. Now here I can make two plays. I can go back out into my Heatran and go for a Magma Storm and kill this Absol. But at this point he has the Thundurus T in the back, and he has one other Pokemon, which was the Magearna. Now, if I go for the Magma Storm on this Absol and kill it, then he brings in his Thundurus, he gets a kill. I'm forced to stay in because I can't switch into Salamence, because then he just sweeps with his Magearna in Trick Room, because he can set up a Trick Room on my Salamence and then I just lose the game, so I can't go Heatran here. So my only way of winning here is going to Salamence and setting up. So that is what I'm going to do. Now, I did go over this in my team builder. If he is Ice Beam here, I have the Yachi Berry, I live that plus Sucker Punch, and I can get off basically a Dragon Dance here for free. So I'm going to go straight for this Dragon Dance. As he reveals, he doesn't actually have Ice Beam, which is actually worse for me, kind of ironically. He gets a mid to high roll on that knockoff, which means that Sucker Punch is a guaranteed kill on my Mence. I believe it does 81 points maximum, so yeah. He goes for Sucker Punch. I know at this point I have to outplay the Sucker Punches, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for the Dragon Dance here. And now I'm +2, I outspeed everything on his team, and I KO everything on his team. So this is a very dangerous game that we're both playing here. He goes for a Sucker Punch again on my next Dragon Dance, and I believe I'm going to go for another Dragon Dance this next turn. So I'm going to go for the Dragon Dance here on his Sucker Punch, and I really need to guess the turn that he's not going to click knockoff, or not going to click Sucker Punch. So I'll go for another Dragon Dance here, and I know that this is the turn. This is the turn that I have to click Dragon Claw, because at this point he's going to run out of Sucker Punches soon, and then if he does that, he just takes an L, I mean immediately. So my play here is to Dragon Claw. That's what I was telling myself. And so I actually decide to click Dragon Dance. This is very unfortunate. I go for Dragon Dance here because at the amount of health I was at, it was in my favor to live a knockoff regardless of if he went for it or not. So he kind of had to win a double 50-50 there, as in getting the 50-50 right and then getting the 50-50 roll. So I really wanted to Dragon Claw there so bad, but I told myself that it was still in my favor if he clicked knockoff, and if he clicked Sucker Punch I lost. So I did go for the Dragon Dance again. I really should have clicked Dragon Claw. My gut was telling me to, and I did not. It was very unfortunate. He goes for the knockoff, and does he get the roll? He does. So that was very unfortunate, and I'm going to lose the game now. So here, I'm just going to go for the Magma Storm because I can knock this down to a 2-0 if I connect on the Absol. He goes for the knockoff, putting me in range of the Thunderbolt, but I do miss the Magma Storm, so it is going to be a 3-0 loss. Could have been a 2-0 win if I clicked the Dragon Claw like I really wanted to. Like, my stylus was hovering over the Dragon Claw. I was about this close. You can't see that, but I'm holding up my fingers really, really close together. I was about that close to clicking Dragon Claw. That would have been the win. But yeah, that's going to be the game. Week 3, taking a loss, bringing us to 1-2 with a -3 differential. But we're going to bounce back. Bounce is 85% accurate, so definitely looking to bounce back next week. and take on K to the 2, which is actually the #1 guy in the league right now. He's 3-0, but I feel like I do have a pretty decent matchup versus him, and the team that I've prepped is looking pretty spicy, so definitely going to give him a run for his money, and see you guys next week with that battle.